Did you know epoxy flooring is one of the most cost-effective home improvement projects that's going to increase the value of your home? You can create stunning designs that are both durable and easy to maintain. And in this video, I'm going to show you my top pro tips that are going to save you thousands by doing it yourself. All right, we're filling up the cracks and nail holes. This floor was covered in carpet. There was tack strip all the way around. I'm gonna mix up my floor patch gel. I'm gonna apply 2 equal-sized blobs of both A and B to my paper here. I'll mix it till the color is uniform. And then I have about 30 to 45 minutes to apply the epoxy floor patch gel to my cracks, pits, and nail holes. We're gonna open up the small cracks with a diamond blade on a grinder. We'll put a vacuum to that to capture most of that dust, and then we're gonna fill those cracks. All right, the floor patch gel is completely cured. It's been about 4 to 5 hours. It's now time to grind the concrete. When we open up the pores of the concrete, that's gonna allow the moisture seal epoxy primer to really penetrate and give us a really good foundation. We're gonna get rid of the high points on the floor patch at the same time as we grind this slab. We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll have this hooked up to a vacuum to minimize dust, grind that floor, and then it's cleanup time. I'll clean up the perimeter really well and vacuum all that loose dust out of the project. The next step is we're applying our Moisture Seal epoxy primer. That penetrates down, bonds really well, and it keeps the moisture from coming up through the floor and delaminating that floor. Moisture Seal epoxy primer has become the industry standard whenever applying flooring epoxy over a concrete slab. We're gonna mix the product at a 2-to-1 ratio for about 2 to 3 minutes with a paddle mixer on a drill. Midway through mixing, just like with the countertop epoxy, scrape the sides and bottom to incorporate any undermixed epoxy clinging to the sides of that bucket. After scraping the bucket, I'll mix again for about another minute, and we're ready to apply this. These are the shoes that we use to keep us sure on our feet whenever walking over wet epoxy. I'll leave in the link in the description below for all the helpful tools and sundries needed to complete the epoxy flooring project. We'll pour out a small ribbon and use a floor squeegee to pull it nice and tight. Thin to win on this application. You do not need a thick coating. We're looking for 3/4 to 1 ounce per square foot of floor. After we've spread the material evenly with our floor squeegees, we're gonna back roll front to back, side to side with a 1/4-inch microfiber roller to complete this step. The primer will be dry to the touch in 6 hours. We're gonna let this dry overnight. We'll be back tomorrow to apply the gray marble coating. All right, we're back. It's the next day. The Moisture Seal has cured perfectly. We have a couple stubborn areas where the concrete was off-gassing and we were left with a bubble, like a little crater. The next step, you want to fill those. That could be exposed to raw concrete. You don't want bubbles coming into your color coat. What I found that fixes those really easily is I'll sand them down flush with the floor, and then I'll drop a little bit of super glue, accelerate dry that. That seals up that concrete. So now when I put my color coat on, no air bubbles are coming from the concrete into my finished floor. It's gonna look perfect. I also missed a couple little cracks, so I'm gonna mix up some Bondo, patch those cracks to keep the air and epoxy from sucking into that. We're gonna lightly scuff up the entire floor, clean the dust with a little bit of 91% isopropyl alcohol, and then it's time to mix up and apply the gray marble epoxy flooring.
Let's go over a few pro tips to success whenever tackling a job as large as this. This is about 1,000 square foot, a little bit under, and that's a lot of work for just one single guy to do. Best case scenario, best practice is to set yourself up for success. Get yourself a mixing partner. My brother Matt, the GOAT, was here to help me out, and he did a really good job of prepping out all my bottles, getting the right ratio into my buckets, and we mixed up and tinted 4.5 gallons at a time. I'd mix up 4.5 gallons, divide that up into my separate buckets, and add my metallic powders and dyes, then thoroughly mix till all those colors are incorporated. Then it's time to take those mixed colors and pour those out onto my floor. I'd apply that in large ribbons, and that all depends on what style of floor you want to go with. If you're going to go just with a couple metallic colors, you aren't going to need as much material. I went about 4 to 5 ounces per square foot for a real pretty flowing marble floor. Your 2-color metallic floors are going to just need 2 to 3 ounces. of metallic mid-coat per square foot of flooring. My friends and original gangster stone coat insiders from way back in the day when we did our very first art hands-on training hit me up interested about our brand new flooring epoxy. They were just starting a whole house remodel. They did a brand new kitchen and living space. They knocked down some walls. It was an epic remodel, and that is the perfect time to do a project this size. We had the whole house to ourselves, and all I needed from Jackie and Don was what their color scheme was and their different style or technique they wanted. They wanted that flowing marble, so I grabbed that magic trowel, mixed up a couple shades of gray, white, and some silver alloy metallic, and then let the epoxy pretty much do all the hard work for me. I put down those colors and kind of was not worried about this first layer. It's kind of my grease coat. I'm going to come back in with some more contrasting colors and add those where they're needed. So if I had too much of a gray area, I'd add a little more white or more lighter gray to give it a contrast, and then use that magic trowel and or roller to meld those colors together. I worked on this project. I was walking on it for almost 2 full hours. There's tons of working time with Stone Coat Epoxy's flooring mid-coat. The key to success is you just want to get that flat and on the floor. So I'd work 4.5 gallons at a time, tint it, pour it out, get it flat, spread it, knowing I'm going to come back with some more colors. So as soon as I had an area that was getting really tight, I would just go mix up some more, bring in some contrasting colors. Right there, I was using 91% isopropyl alcohol in that little pump sprayer. That is another pro tip for removing air incorporated into that flooring epoxy while mixing, melding, working with it. Adjust the tip to a heavy spray and then fully saturate the floor. You may need to do this a time or two to completely remove the air.
Adding accents, I'm just dipping the tip of my roller in and then melding that out.
I've been 100% guilty of adding way too much accent color by thinking I could pour just the right amount out of my mixing cup. So use this technique, guys. It is a really precise way of adding just a subtle amount of that accent color. So when Jackie and Don say, Mitch, not too much blue, just a subtle amount, I now own my destiny. I control that even better using that dip and roll technique. So you can also use a propane torch to remove any stubborn bubbles. But pro tip, guys, do not use the alcohol and torch too close to one another. You can get this mid coat to lay down perfectly, no micro bubbles. I am absolutely loving the way this floor melded and looks here, guys. It is my top favorite floor. The epoxy will be ready for the next step in about 24 hours. That's when we're coming back for the top coat.
All right, I'm back. It's the final day and it's the final step of this beautiful marble project in a customer's home. The next step, I'm going to lightly scuff up the entire floor, clean out that dust with 91% isopropyl alcohol, and then we're going to mix up and apply the Ultimate Top Coat Matte Flooring Edition. Every so often you'll get like a little booger. I don't know how that came in, probably off my cleats. And then I got another thing right here. Stuff like this, before you go to apply the top coat, just sand that down flush, completely gonna disappear out of your floor. And if I have any off-gassing bubbles, like, ooh, that's a high point, I don't really have any bubbles. There's one. There's a little off-gassing bubble. I'll fill that with a tiny bit of super glue.
Sand any bubble open and sand the ridge down flush. I'm gonna add a very small drop of 2P10 super glue and then either let that dry naturally or come back with a tiny amount of that accelerator spray, and then I'll grab that sander, sand it back flush. Does a really good job of blending in any of those little bubbles. I'm kind of going overkill with that sanding. You could also sand by hand with a sheetrock sander.
Our Flooring Ultimate Top Coat has been formulated specially for the flooring application. It's open a little bit longer. It's a little bit thinner right out of that bottle. I'm gonna mix it up for about a minute. I'm gonna add 12 ounces of water, mix again. Different application than doing the Countertop Ultimate Top Coat. No dry rolling is needed. I'll hit the perimeter first, roll it nice and tight, and work my way out of the building. I'll let it cure overnight, and then tomorrow, light foot traffic can commence. If you're applying the Ultimate Top Coat to a garage, you could park your vehicle on top of that in 3 days. Be sure to shake part A. It doesn't have to be crazy. Just give it a good shake. The matting agents sometimes like to settle. All right, guys, it's time to mix up the ultimate top coat. I'm gonna mix up this whole kit. We're going with a matte finish today, but it's really more like a satin. I'll pour in part A. I'm gonna pour in part B at a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm just gonna mix up this whole kit, and it's gonna cover about 500 to 600 square feet per gallon and a half. I'll mix for about a minute, and then I'm gonna add in 12 ounces of room temperature water. I'll mix again for about another minute. We'll go into my paint pans. Wet your roller out, roll it off, and then hit that perimeter. I'm just going real tight, guys, to the floor. Trying to get this product as uniform as I can. No big puddles or ridges from pushing down. If I have those, I just feather over it with lighter pressure. I'm backing off now. I'm gonna set this down and go to the big boy finish. Yes, sir.
You can also apply the ultimate top coat using a 3/8 inch microfiber roller for those extra large big rooms. I would dip and roll the material on the floor like I'm painting a wall. Try to apply it as evenly as possible and feather those lap lines as you apply. Hit the perimeter with a 4 to 6 inch weenie roller. Put on your spiked shoes, and using that wet roller, no dry rolling on your floor, roll that floor one more time wall to wall, working your way out of the room. If you want my biggest pro tip according to flooring of all time, you gotta watch the video that I'm about to put on the screen. Here I show how to apply epoxy flake flooring to a garage, America's largest room we forget about. You can make some serious money installing That was rude. Flake flooring in your garage or your neighbor's. Make some money. Check that video out right now.